Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Uncharted 3 brutal difficulty video walkthrough. This is chapter 6, it's the Chateau. The Chateau. Did I say that right? Did I say Chateau? That sounded weird, didn't it? God damn my accent. It's like a French house place, isn't it? This is the first challenging level, and it's challenging for 2 gunfights, and both of them are pretty manageable because the second one has great checkpoints. It's the first one that is a little tricky, and it's tricky for one reason. I have a really good spot for it where you almost never get flanked, and when you do, you can stay on top of it as long as you listen. The problem is there's one dude who has this weird AI where he runs behind a Land Rover, and he will not come out of cover or ever rush you or ever be any real threat unless you move out of cover. And when you move out of cover, he goes to the same place, but he's really tricky to hit, and he can instantly murder you with laser aim in the space of a second, so you can't really mess with him. And aside from that, it's a really easy scenario once you know what you're doing, and it's just one of those strange moments of, I died about maybe 6 or 7 times because of him. And I really felt like I shouldn't, like I knew exactly what I needed to do, but the game just got me, and I probably struggled more in the Chateau area than I did in any of the later areas except for Dreamers of the Day. The beginning of Dreamers of the Day is really rough if you've got good weapons because they make you frugal, and I didn't want to use my weapons, so I was dancing with death the entire time, but you'll see that much later on. But Brutal is a tough difficulty that demands a lot of things from you, but it also gives you the tools that you need to win. It's fair in a lot of ways, it's unfair in a lot of ways, and there are only a few moments where I think you're going to have real trouble. One of them that everyone's going to have difficulties with is the hanging sections in Abducted, because the game fights you when you're trying to shoot, and the enemies have perfect aim and very fast reactions. Humans don't, you know, we have good reactions, but we don't have machine reactions. There's a reason why, you know, people are dying in that section, because some people just don't have the ability to aim and shoot quickly against an opponent who can do it just as fast, if not faster. And it's not your fault, that, guys, it isn't, because the game is actively hindering you in that moment with how the auto-aim works and how the blind fire works and how the aim reset works and a whole host of mechanics that I'm going to talk about on Chapter 12. But this is a puzzle, so shoot the lock to let Sully into this room. Sully's then going to procrastinate a little bit, and all you want to do is go up to this, I think it's a bookshelf that's fallen over. You press triangle on it, you lift it up, and that enables us to do some platforming and to push forward past this puzzle. And I struggled with some of the puzzles on this, which I thought was hilarious. I've beaten this game now 4 times. I never remember having any issue with puzzles, but I came back to this game, I was doing really well with combat, and I was just being a complete clown when it came to some of the puzzles. And I'd just forgotten how to do them, and it was one of those things where it's just like, wow, I can't remember how you do this. So there's going to be a lot of dramatic editing, which there would have been anyway, but the stuff that would have been left in if I didn't is just bad. You know, moments where I'm not understanding the scripting of the game and how the scenarios play out, and it's because I took so long between beating Crushing to do Brutal, and I'd forgot. You know, I play a lot of games to remember all the intricate minutiae. Like, what's happening here? Come on, Sully, you dickhead, I need you to trigger this weird thing. And then I stand on it, and there we go. Trigger bra. There you go. Prop us up, and we can continue. But the moments of the game that I was worried about the ballroom, and I got the ballroom in under 20 minutes. It went really smooth, really fun fight. I've got a really good strategy for you, which is aggressive, and it's luck dependent in certain parts, but everything on Brutal can be luck dependent. You can control a lot of it, but when I say luck dependent, it's any moment when I'm out of cover and there's an enemy that can shoot me and chooses not to. Those are the moments where you need a bit of luck. But the ballroom was going to be tough. It's not tough, guys. I've got a good strat for it. You should be fine. I was conscious of the stealth section where you get your weapons taken off you and then you do the big fight on Chapter 12. I was conscious of that moment, but it wasn't too bad once I found a really good spot where you're very safe, but you have to get ammo, which is a bad part. Then I was a little bit conscious of the caravan, because the caravan at the beginning, you have to shoot a lot of multiple enemies, and on Brutal, they shoot you way faster than you shoot them, so the first checkpoint on the caravan is really taxing, and I think that that's definitely one of the trickier moments of the game. Right now, I want Drake to jump across to that platform, but he won't do the animation to show me that he'll jump in that direction. You see that? He keeps fighting me. And it has to be said, folks, the platforming in Uncharted 4 is so much better than the ones that preceded it. And I know it's a sequel, and I know that's how that works, but I cannot compliment enough what they've done to the platforming in Uncharted 4, because it just feels so much better than this game. In this game, I was getting a little bit frustrated because it's not as smooth, it's not as precise, it's just not as silky. And, you know, if it wasn't for this game, Uncharted 4 wouldn't exist, so this game owes... You know, that game owes this a lot, but at the same time, it has improved mechanics, and when you have knowledge of improved mechanics and you come back to old ones, it can be very frustrating. And it can be one of those moments where you kind of do the whole, I wish that this was like that, even though that didn't exist when this was made kind of thing. You know? The greatest thing about these remakes to me is that they run at 60, and the frame rates do dip occasionally, but for the most, you can tell that this game feels great to play, and I think that's why I like it so much. You know, I like this way better than Uncharted 4. Pure opinion there, guys, but one of the main reasons is the frame rate. Like, the frame rate on Uncharted 4 is great. You can barely tell that game is running at 30 because it just flows really nice. It's got a lot of post-processing effects. It looks fluid. It barely ever dips, and it feels great when you're playing. But it doesn't feel as good as this. Like, you know when I turned this game on and the menu happens at 60 FPS and it looks so fucking smooth and amazing, and then you start playing and everything feels great. You feel sharper, you feel just more in tune with the game. And it's down to that double frames, you know? And that's why I think I like them so much, because not only are they great games that age really well, but they just feel so good at 60. And I'm not one of these people that thinks that 30 FPS games are unplayable, because that's not true. To say that is to 100% misunderstand how your eye works and how your brain works. You can get used to anything. You could play a game in 6 frames per second. You just have to get used to it, and then it'll get to the point where you don't even realise that that's happening. Look at Dark Souls 1. Everybody played Dark Souls 1. Frame rate was dog shit in that game, outside of PC. But after you put a couple 10, 20, 50 hours into the game, you kind of didn't see the frame rate problems anymore because you just kind of gone on with it. And you can do that with 30 frames. 30 frames is not bad unless it's dropping a lot. But any frame rate is bad when it's dropping a lot. As long as it's consistent, 30 and 60 are just two different types of experience. But objectively, regardless of your bias and your feelings, 60 is better than 30. 144 is better than 60. You know, it's all about what's better for me. And I just so happen to really, really enjoy that these games run at such a clip. Like, I don't think if I went back to my PlayStation 3 versions that I would enjoy them as much, because I've gone back to Yakuza 3 from playing Yakuza Kiwami, and Kiwami's 60, Yakuza 3's 30, and it feels like you're playing in slow motion. And it's one of those things that some people will never understand this, and they think I'm crazy when I talk about the importance of frame rates. And that's fine, but to me, it's massive. And it's not because I'm an elitist, it's not because I'm up my own arse or anything, it's just because I can feel the difference, and I can see the difference, and the difference is great. It's a wide divide, and I enjoy it when it's not there. And I sent a tweet today to Platinum Games, because there's been whispers that they're porting a bunch of games to PC, and one of those games is going to be Vanquish. I'm having troubles here jumping towards the other side. Once again, you know, I've been playing platformers like this since Prince of Persia. I know how to jump from what I'm on to something directly behind me, and the game was like, nope. But the message to Platinum is I want my Vanquish in 60 frames, and I'm really hoping that happens. But this is the tricky fight, guys. So the checkpoint here is dumb as shit. It puts you in a really bad place with the fight already kicked off, and you can't do any of the great spawn kills with the gas canisters or anything. So if you fuck up that first attempt, you're done. But if you run over to this piece of cover, this wonderful thing happens. The shotgun men will generally rush you, so you can put them down with some blind fire. This guy rushes you, and hopefully your blind fire doesn't miss like mine did, because I double shot this guy. See you later. Wrong. And then at this point, the only danger you're in is if anybody comes to that left window or above you, and you can listen to see them doing it and kill them before they get a chance to shoot you. Once you're clear and there's nobody left to shoot, the one person who's alive is going to be behind that truck over there. And he's the dude who plays funny buggers with you. But until then, we've got a couple of stragglers. So all I'm doing here, guys, is I'm looking to my left, I'm looking above, and I'm checking these people as they get closer. If they rush me, I'll blind fire them and they don't stand a chance. Because the good thing about this piece of cover is if you get rushed, they'll try and fight you. They won't shoot you. They'll shoot you if you give them distance, but if you don't give them distance, there's literally no way they can kill you, unless you get shot by someone else. And that's why it's so powerful. But the cover here is really bad. You notice this? I kept rolling into the wall instead of going against it because the trigger only works on the corner. I'm going to move between cover spots and pick up ammunition too, which is a really handy technique. If you can see a gun on the floor that you want, and you can move between cover to get it, press triangle as you do it, and you'll reload or grab it. I hope I show this. Or I'm going to show this dude. So if you climb up here, watch the Land Rover. You see him? That's the guy who's left. He is the last person alive, and he's a massive arsehole. So I'm trying to get on this cover, but I keep getting screwed because this game just doesn't work as well as Uncharted 4. Come on, Drake, do it. Maybe he doesn't do it. All I want to do is hang on it. There we go. And from here, I'm going to use some Uncharted 4 tech to kill him. But you'll notice he's been an asshole, and this guy's the person who's going to kill you if you use this strategy, because he's the only person who's remotely threatening, unless you get a bad spawn where the shotgunners go on the roof or something and somebody comes from behind you, which can happen. A lot of this is down to luck, guys, but for the most, this was the best way I could find to do this, and it only took, as I've mentioned, I died maybe 7 times here, and 5 of those attempts were trying to rush the enemies and be super crazy to see if it was effective, and it wasn't, in my opinion. But here we go. This is... Once we kill this guy, I believe those 2 windows up there are going to open. And there's going to be 2 more guys and then a last guy who kicks open a door. And the guy who kicks open the door is probably going to kill you, but I think you get a checkpoint. Because I nearly get killed, but there's an angel on my shoulder when we go in that room and I somehow survive. So he goes down. Here's the 2 dudes on the balcony. I almost die getting into better cover. And all I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to use the cover trick to shoot around the cover with the micro Uzi, which is one of the best sidearms you can use. Not only is it ridiculously accurate, even though it shouldn't be, but it also has probably the best blind fire in the game. The blind fire on this gun is so destructive and accurate, it can kill heavies if you use it correctly. It's incredibly powerful. But that's the end of the fight, guys. I don't know it's over though, because I'm not playing with audio on at the moment. Which I should probably discuss because some people took it the wrong way on that video I mentioned. So on another walkthrough or another video, I mentioned that whenever you're having trouble with something, it's always a good idea to try some different approaches. And sometimes it's a good idea to try some approaches that sound confusing and baffling to you, because you never know, it might resonate with you personally. One of the things I recommended was what I like to do. I like to take the volume off of games and focus on other things, because I feel like I play better. I feel like I react better. I feel like I start to just get into the flow of the game. And then some people were saying that it's been scientifically proven that you react faster to sound than you do to sight. And I have no doubt that that's true. All I was trying to tell people is, if you're having trouble with... This is the guy who gets behind me, by the way. How I don't die here, I couldn't tell you. See that? Shotgun blast. Didn't put me to death screen because it only scraped me. But that was very lucky.
Thanks for the gift, boys.
But what I was saying, as we practice our grenade throws here, is I feel like I play better in the same way that people have pre-sport rituals or certain things that they do that give them luck. Look at a gambler who blows on dice before he throws them and things. It's not necessarily something that has any real effect. It's just I feel like it has an effect, and thus it empowers me because it gives me confidence. It's like a placebo, guys. And it's the same with music. If you play a game with music on and you get to like your favourite part of a song, you start to feel yourself and you start to almost perform to the music, and you can have really wonderful results. You can have terrible results, but just test it, just try it. I'm not telling you to disengage your brain and what people have told you if this has been proven fact. I'm not saying that, you know. I'm saying it can have effects because it's all indicative of you. And I have this thing where, when I start to struggle with a game, sometimes I need the sound on and I need to crank it and I need to focus for audio cues and things, and that'll give me success. But then there are times where zero sound is way better, and then there are other times, as I mentioned, where when I put music on, that's the kicker. And it's all about finding your own personal kicker. But this is the second challenging fight of the section. It's also a victim of the weird checkpoints of Uncharted, so... I died on this sequence because it's pretty tricky, and the checkpoint, it puts me in a place where I wasn't at all, and it puts me in a situation which is not averse in this sequence, but in other places it is. You'll notice there was an audio repeat there to try and link it up. I wanted to leave that in. I get flanked here, so be careful. very dangerous, but that grenade puts those guys down, thankfully. You can also get shot from the left here, so don't stay here too long. I like to guard the stairs until people stop coming, and then I push forward with Sully. But Sully's really good here because he's a great distraction. There's also going to be another edit just here. Because look at that. I never ever went in that courtyard. Not once. Because I think personally that going in this courtyard is very dangerous. Yet the checkpoint throws me there for no reason. That's a bad checkpoint. And I have no idea, in a game this beautiful, this well made, with this much love, why they don't dynamically checkpoint you where you are. And I know the counter-argument, and I still disagree with it. They do it this way so that you don't checkpoint yourself into a black hole of doom, where you have no bullets, you have no grenades, and you're in a kill box where the moment you spawn, you're instantly dead and there's nothing you can do. It's almost an impossible scenario. And I know this because I've done it. I've done it in several games. One of the most notorious ones for me was Chronicles of Riddick Dark Athena. I managed to quick save myself, post alarm on a camera where an auto turret murdered me the second after I started. And it took me about an hour and a half of repeatedly getting murdered to try and be murdered just enough to survive and get out of this room of death. And it was horrible, and it was something that I would never recommend to anybody ever, but I did it, and it was my fault I was in that spot to begin with. And that's the reason they do it this way. But to me, if you put yourself in a bad spot, it's your fucking fault. You've got to get out of the hole you've dug, and it's your prerogative at that point. So I would do what, I can't remember which game did this recently, I forget which it was, but I played a game where they logged each of your specific checkpoints in a list, so you could revert back to 3, 4, 5 spaces backwards of checkpoints that you've got, and you could redo sections. You never was forced to play an entire level again to get to the point where you were, so you could have a better run up to a bullshit checkpoint. And there are moments in this game where I did experimental things, and I ended up getting a mid-fight checkpoint that fucked me. It put me in a bad spot, it gave me no chance to redo the beginning, and I wasn't in an optimal situation or a position of power that I would have wanted to be if I'd have had full control. And I don't want to replay the entire level. That to me is boring, you know. I want my walkthroughs to be as honest as I can make them, and one of the most honest ways I can make them is I don't repeat these sections until I get the most majestic, sexy looking action. Because if I did that, it wouldn't help anybody. Because if you see me go through all of this doing ridiculously skillful, spinning, jumping, crazy Eddie Murphy from Beverly Hills Cop moments, it doesn't help you if you can't do that. So there's no point in me making a guide like that. If I were to do a project where it was just, you know, evidence of awesome gameplay, I wouldn't call it a walkthrough, I'd call it a run. Because it's me displaying something I can do, but maybe you can't. And it would be all alleviated if they had that system I mentioned from that game I can't remember, so apologies to whatever game that was. It might be Uncharted 4, I'm not sure. But just this flexibility to redo these sections would be fantastic. This is a puzzle, by the way. I'm going to skip to the solution. It's a little bit dark here, guys. I do apologise. But just follow what I do, or open your book and figure it out yourself. It's up to you. But there are moments in this game where it makes editing very difficult, because it puts you into situations where you're nowhere near where you were. And I really don't like that. I like to have a consistency with checkpoints. And I would go as far as to say, I would prefer them not to have checkpoints in the middle of a fight, if that's the consequence of them. Because I don't want to be put in a position I never was, with guns I never used, in a spot which I personally think is dog shit. To me, that's a death sentence. And it happens on Abducted, it happens on Chapter 12. And I make it work, and I end up getting a strategy that makes you 100% safe. The only problem is you need a lot of ammo, and if you don't have it, it can be difficult. Like, it's that weird thing of...
Sully, this is John D's lab.
There's ways to do it, but I just don't think we've got everything coalescing to something that works properly. Right now is another one of those Scooby-Doo mysteries. We're going to come up to the table, he's going to stick the ring in the thing, and then we're going to push the top of this thing off and carry on. Unfortunately, this is the second time I'm doing this commentary because I lost it, and it was a really good one too. I was really getting in there, and you know, I felt like everything I said in it was valid and warranted and something worth listening to, something worth discussing, and it's gone. It's one of the awful parts of doing commentary sometimes. And it's a Premiere problem that probably doesn't happen in newer versions of Premiere, but I'm using CS5. I should really get CS7 or CS8 or something. But I'm one of those people that, you know, until there's a problem, I don't look to fix it. Because I find that when you tweak with things, you end up creating problems, and that's the last thing I want to do. You know, if something's working, why bother? And I know that's very archaic and dinosauric of me, but it's how I feel. And it translates into a lot of things, except for certain things, of course. But here is another puzzle, guys. You can either figure it out yourself using the torch and the spots, or you can look at what I do and line the plates up to your video game. This puzzle took me way longer than it should have, because I was I was using the wrong squiggly line thing, and it was quite funny. But I think that's a cool puzzle, that, because it's very doable. It's very specific on how you work it out, but it is workoutable. It's not one of those where you have to just bang your head against it and hope it works. There's logic there, and I like that. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.